welcome to this live episode of Chit Chat with the African in Ecuador. My name is Dorcas Glader, and you're welcome. Today's topic is quite thought provoking because as a Nigerian, I wanted to just share how I felt the very first time I heard about the demise of late President Muhammadu Buhari. I've been following the news since exactly 6 days ago when he passed away in London. First of all, God rest his soul. Okay. Um, I believe his family is in mourning as they should because he was a father, he was a grandfather, he was a friend, he was someone's child, he was people's relative. And there are people who saw and benefited of his good part. There is no human being who does not have a good part. We're all not 100% good, neither are we 100% evil. Okay, so last Sunday, yeah, that was on the 13th. Someone asked me if I was aware that President Muhammadu Buhari had passed on. And my first reaction was not that of shock, was not that of hurt, was not that of pain, but you know, there was no feeling lost. Literally, I just said, well, if it's true, he's a human being. That is the last step for any human being to take. And that really got me thinking. I was forced to have an introspect at myself to say, what kind of a human being am I? Because I was fortunate, I would say, not to be in Nigeria during his reign from 2015 to 2003, I think, when he handed over power. But I share with fellow Nigerians the sufferings he put us through. We went through hell as a nation. There were complaints from the masses. And for me, I think the biggest thing I begrudge him was the cruelty with which they treated those young people at Lekki Toll Gate in the Sorosoke protest. That for me was the most cruel thing that a president could ever have done. I mean, as a young child, I knew in the military regimes they used to pour tear gas on protesters. Those days, if you remember in the 90s when kids from secondary schools were always protesting in Kaduna and around, where they would hose us with water, not us per se, but my friends from government schools. They would hose us with water, they would hose them with water for protesting, wanting to have stable education, stable teachers, paid teachers that would give them stable education so they could finish school on time, you know. But for those kids to have come out and adults grown up to come out in 2020 and have live bullets fired at them for protesting the injustices being done to them, I think is the biggest thing that Nigerians will never forgive Buhari for, you know. And so when he passed on, I just, I told myself, it's not that I'm happy, because the death of a man does not change or erase the effect of his bad governance. It doesn't change anything. A lot of us will still live on with the scars of of the cruelty that we received from his governance, okay? So it didn't really make any difference. So the first thing, as most people do, I went to social media to get a feel of what Nigerians were saying, if people were mourning him. Because, like it or not, I remember when I was finishing high school when Sani Abacha died, we celebrated. It's not right, but people celebrated like a tyrant had gone home, had left the earth, had done us a big favor by dying, and people were celebrating. Bars were full, shops, restaurants were full, There was celebration, like joyous celebration when Sani Abacha died, you know. But when I go through social media through the week, when I was going through social media, you could see that there was just a lot of um, how do you call it, nonchalance. There was bitterness, you know. And so I decided to go and read the news, and people started pouring in condolences. Hola, Maite Rogers, or Rojas, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Hi. The news said that our neighboring presidents were sending condolences, saying how great a man he was, what a wonderful politician he was, what a great leader he was. BBC was talking about his role as a military president, which at the time I wasn't there, so I cannot speak much, but we were told that he tried to bring in discipline, like ordering queues at bus stops, you know, putting rule and order in public spaces. And there were some commendable acts, you know, that he did. But when he came back in 2015, I feel personally that he came for vengeance because Buhari had lost elections, I think twice, after um, prior to coming to power. He had contested twice and he lost and only won on the third time, you know. And I feel that when he came to power, he chose to punish us for not winning the two previous elections. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense why he would even let loose his tribal men. I know many people will say it doesn't make sense, but even his tribal men had the nerve, the temerity to, you know, unleash cruelty on people. I'm from Kaduna State. A lot of farmers lost their lives. A lot of farmers will never get justice. I was even closely affected indirectly. My siblings' farms was invaded by the Fulanis, who are tribe men. It was like, you know, the dogs were let out and they could do what they wanted to do. I mean, we are kind of tribalistic in Nigeria, let's not lie, but you never saw that kind of impunity by a certain tribe just because their kinsman was in power. That only happened in Buhari's regime. Okay? And so the change of the currency just because he was trying to frustrate the incoming government, that also happened only in Buhari's regime. It was during Buhari's regime that banking policies were at such an unstable rate. Today one thing was on, tomorrow another thing was on. No thanks to him, Nigerians had to learn how to do cashless transactions, you know, and it was a moment of hell. Worry was like our chastisement, our punishment from the gods, so to say. Hola, Evelyn, Pamela. Uh, you know, so it was really, really bad. It was really bad. And I get it that we are not, I can say fully with confidence that my fellow countrymen are not, we are not mourning the man, you know. Probably politicians are. His fellow politicians are those who enjoyed the national cake with him. They should be, they should be mourning him, they should be missing him. And I also read that his wife said he apologized to the nation after he did this. Like, what are we supposed to do with that apology? And if he really had a change of heart, if he felt convicted or somehow, why didn't he just organize a press conference and openly apologize to the country? You know, why didn't he do that? Having said that, you know, this is one man that I think Nigerians are not ashamed or afraid to speak evil of because we are going to be living with his evils. You know, people lost their relatives. Some people I learned there were mass burials. Some people will never know where their loved ones were buried after that Sorosuke incident. You know, so while people are sending in condolences to the country, while the flags are flying at half mast, and some people are mourning, I can tell you myself, my beautiful self, and fellow Nigerians, it couldn't change. It couldn't affect us more or less because that does not change the price of rice in the market. That does not change the price of Gary in the market. You know, it's all thanks to Buhari that the prices of food went up, and the current government is not even doing anything better. On the lighter side, I saw a picture that said um, somebody is next in line, because there was a picture where there were three of them who were sitting: Buhari, Tinubu, and Atiku. And some people even went as far as making a bad joke that they would be going in that order. We don't wish people dead, okay? Nobody should wish anybody dead. Everybody will pay for their actions in this life or in the life after, if you believe in it. I do, you know. So that's just my take. I can say we're not mourning. I'm not mourning. I didn't feel it, and it makes me reflect on our life choices. You know, what exactly are we leaving as legacy for the world, for our families? You know, because um, whatever you do, it has lasting impacts for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones. You know, let's always think about that. Let's try to leave a good reputation, a good legacy for the next generation. And I hope you have a nice weekend. I hope you reflect on these things for yourself, not just for the country. And I know other countries too in Africa are also fighting for better governance. I wish us all success. Here is to a better Africa. Here's to a stronger West Africa. Here is power to the youth, Amandla, to the youths of West Africa. May our dreams all come true. We have suffered and we do deserve good governance. That is all I wanted to say today. Um, I'm in solidarity with my fellow countrymen, and I'll see you next Saturday. Bye bye. Hola Evelyn, hola Maite, gracias por estar aquí conmigo. Estaba hablando sobre la muerte de nuestro presidente que murió el domingo pasado. No sé si me escucharon en español, porque me imagino que son hispanohablantes, ¿verdad? Ya, muchísimas gracias.